And welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman. Today we're learning how to play a song that I'd say is definitely the most challenging song we've learned so far. But I also think it's one of the most fun and exciting too. It's an American folk song called Dinah. Let's have a listen. No one in the house but Dinah, Dinah. No one in the house but me, I know. No one in the house but Dinah, Dinah. Playing on the old banjo. No one in the house, no one in the house.
No one in the house but me, I know.
No one in the house, no one in the house. No one in the house but me, I know. No one in the house but Dinah, Dinah. No one in the house but me, I know. No one in the house but Dinah, Dinah. Playing on the old banjo. Now, let's sing Dinah together, and we're going to explore its rhythm. Can you point on your screen to each beat as we sing? Here's the first note. Point on your screen with me as we touch the beat. Ready, go. No one in the house but Dinah, Dinah. No one in the house but me, I know. Now, in Dinah, there's a new kind of rhythm that goes even faster than eighth notes. So fast that you can fit 4 sounds in one beat. I'm going to sing the first line, and I'd like you to see if you can find the beat where you hear 4 fast notes, all inside one beat. I'm going to do it in cow style, so to make it a little easier. Go. Moo, 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 moo. Can you point to a beat where you heard 4 fast sounds? If you're pointing here, you're correct. Moo, 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 moo. When you have 4 fast notes, all inside one beat, we call that 16th notes. And this is a picture of 4 16th notes. It goes twice as fast as eighth notes and 4 times as fast as quarter notes. Notice that with 16th notes, you have 2 beams connecting the notes across the top. And by the way, 16th notes don't have to come in groups of 4 like this. You can also find them in groups of 2 or even 6. But 16th notes in groups always have these 2 beams connecting them, which is how to tell them apart from 8th notes like these, which only have 1 beam. Makes it sound like this. Tiki, 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 tiki. Can you say it with me? Go. Tiki, 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 tiki. And that first beat has a tiki, tiki in it. Moo, 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 moo. Now, I'm going to do the rest of the beats and see if you can figure out how many sounds are inside the other beats. Moo, 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 moo. What did you hear? If you heard 8th notes, you're correct. The 8th notes go this fast. T, 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 T. So in rhythm words, this first line sounds like this. Tiki, tiki, T, 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 T. Can you say that with me? Point and sing the rhythm words. Go. Tiki, tiki, T, 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 T. Good job. 16th notes are really fun. Let's try this next row. See if you can figure out the rhythm for the next 4 beats. Moo, 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 moo. Where did you hear the 16th notes? If you heard them here, you're correct. Once again, it's in the first beat of this group of 4. And then what did you hear for the rest of the beats? Moo, 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 moo. Did you hear a quarter note anywhere? Where does this quarter note belong? If you said here, you're correct. And in these other 2 beats, we had more 8th notes. So let's try to say the rhythm words for this second row. Go. Tiki, tiki, ti, 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 ta. Now, let's draw Dinah on the staff. The first note of Dinah is right here. And do you recognize what is the letter name of this note? Our treble clef, remember, swirls around this line number 2, which is the G line. So this first note of Dinah is G. And that note repeats. No one in the house. We had 5 G's in a row. Now, point to these notes with me and let's say G, 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 G. Go. G, 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 G. And in Dinah, we're in the G major pentascale, which means G will be do. Do, 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 do. And then the next note goes ba, 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 ba. Did it go up or down? If you said up, you're correct. And it skipped up to this mi. Do, 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 mi. Let's point and sing the solfege together. Go. Do, 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 mi. Very good. Now the next part goes ba, 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 ba. We skip up again to so. Then it skips back down to mi. Back up to so. Back down to mi. So, mi, so, mi. Can you point and sing that with me? Go. So, mi, so, mi. So all together, that gives us do, 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 mi, so, mi, so, mi. Now point and sing with me. Go. Do, 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 mi, so, mi, so, mi. Now, can you hold up your right hand and let's practice moving our fingers for the patterns we need for Dinah. First, wiggle the finger that usually plays do. If you're wiggling your finger 1, that's correct. We usually have do right here. And then for this first phrase, we'll also need a mi and so. And remember, do, mi, so is a skipping pattern. So try do, mi, so. Can you sing and move your fingers in that pattern? Try it with me. Go. Do, mi, so. Good. Those are the first 3 notes we'll need for Dinah. Now, let's put it in the actual patterns. We start off with do, 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 do. Those 5 repeating notes. Try it with me. Go. Do, 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 do. Good. And then we skip up to mi. So we'll have no one in the house but. Now you try. And then for Dinah, we skip up to so. Dinah, Dinah. And it skips back and forth between so and mi. Now you try. Dinah, Dinah. Now let's put all of that together. We have no one in the house but Dinah, Dinah. Now you try. Good. Now let's look at the next phrase. Now the second phrase of Dinah starts off the same way. No one in the house but. Now this time we're going to do something a little different. It goes me, I, no. Now can you tell me what's happening from this note to this note? We got to start on G, repeat, 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 skip up. Then what? Because we went from a line to a space, we know that we stepped down. And then what happens here? If you said repeat, you're correct. This repeats and then steps down again. And if this one's on mi, then this has to be re, re. Then what would this be in solfege? If you said do, you're correct. So the whole thing all together is do, 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 mi, re, re, do. Now you try. Great. Now hold up your right hand again and let's try that phrase. Once again, we start off with no one in the house but. Now you try. Then after we skip up to mi, then it steps down to re, re, do. Now you try. Good, let's put that whole thing together. Do, 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 mi, re, re, do. Now you try. Sing and move. Great job. Let's check out the sheet music for Dinah. Remember, as always, you can download this from our website. Now, you may notice that some of our 8th notes now have flipped upside down. And the rule is when a note head goes up above this middle line, it flips the stems upside down. That's just so it doesn't stick off too high. So it doesn't change anything. This will still be tiki, tiki, ti, 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 ti. Will you point with me and let's say the rhythm words for this first line. Point on your screen and say the rhythm words. Go. Tiki, tiki, ti, 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 ti. Tiki, tiki, ti, 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 ta. Super. Now let's try to play it on the piano. Dinah uses the G major pentascale, which we recently learned. All white keys, but do is on G. Take your right hand and comfortably find a G major pentascale on your piano. Now remember, the start of Dinah goes do, 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 mi. So we have a lot of repeating notes on do, and they're 16th notes. Remember, 16th notes go quite fast. Tiki, tiki, ti. Tiki, tiki, ti. Now, to get fast 16th notes, I want you to keep your wrist really relaxed. You want to remember that your wrist can have like a trampoline feel to it. Do, 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 do. I don't want to see a lot of tension like that. Sometimes when students want to play really fast, they use a lot of tension and it really can mess up your good piano posture. So keep your fingers relaxed, keep your wrist relaxed, and just try and bounce that wrist like this. Do, 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 do. See, I'm just using gravity and I'm just bouncing on that G. Do, 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 do. Now you try. Good. See how floppy and relaxed you can keep your wrist. Do, 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 do. Try it one more time. Let's try adding a note. Now we have no one in the house but. Remember on but, it skips up to me. Now you try. Good. And then after that, we have Dinah, Dinah. Now you try. Now let's put it all together. Do, 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 mi, so, mi. Your turn. Good. And remember, when you play that so, keep your pinky near the tip. Don't let your pinky flatten. Keep your good piano posture. Do, 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 mi, so, mi. You can use gravity to drop on that finger 5. So it's almost like your hand might rock a little bit like this. Now you try. Good. Now let's try the next phrase, which goes, once again, do, 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 mi. Your turn. And after that, we have re, re, do. Your turn. Let's put it all together. No one in the house but me, I know. Your turn. Sing and play. Putting the whole first line together, we get no one in the house but Dinah, Dinah. No one in the house but me, I know. Now, pause the video and practice that first line several times, working on your good piano posture, a nice bouncy wrist. Remember to sing while you play. Pause the video and work on that first line, then press play to go on. Now, the next phrase of Dinah is exactly like the first phrase. No one in the house but Dinah, Dinah. So we already know how to play that. So let's go on to the next phrase. This time, what do you see? Are we on G this time? No. Is this a line note or a space note? If you said space note, you're correct. You'll notice it's just a step above this G line, which gives us what letter? If you said A, you're correct. This time we have 4 repeating notes on A, which in the G major pentascale is re. Re, 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 re. And then it finishes with this pattern. Ba, ba, ba. What happens here? Can you tell me how the notes are moving? We have start on A, repeat, 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 then what? If you said step up, you're correct. Then step down, and then what's here? another step down. Because the notes go line, space, line, we know these are stepping down. Mi, re, do. Hey, have you seen this pattern before? Yeah, mi, re, do is in hot cross buns. Hot cross buns. This time it's part of Dinah. Playing on the old banjo. Or re, 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 mi, re, do. Sing the solfege with me and point on your screen. Ready, go. Re, 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 mi, re, do. Great. Now for this phrase, we have 4 repeats on re. Can you wiggle which finger does re? If you're wiggling your finger number 2, you're right. We have do, re. And now we have 4 re's. Re, 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 re. Now you try. Good. And then after that, we step up to mi, steps back to re, steps down to do. So all together we get re, 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 mi, re, do. Now you try. Great. Now let's try and play it. So once again, bring your right hand into the G major pentascale. This time we're starting on re. So we'll go re, 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 re. 4 16th notes on re. Now you try. Now let's add lyrics. Playing on the, your turn. Good. Then on old, we step up to mi for old banjo. And the solfege pattern is mi, re, do. Now you try. Now let's connect that to the 16th notes. We have re, 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 mi, re, do. Your turn. Let's try it with lyrics. Playing on the old banjo. Remember, the word old is where you step up. Now you try. Good. Now let's go back to the start of line 2 from your sheet music and put it together with this. No one in the house but Dinah, Dinah, playing on the old banjo. Now pause the video and work on that section on your own. This is line 2, then press play to go on. So now you've learned the first section of Dinah. You've learned this first line, we've learned this second line, and I would call this the A section of Dinah. Now, you'll notice that there's still more to come. I call that the B section. It's a contrasting new section that we'll learn in another lesson. So for now, I just want you to focus on these first 2 lines. If you noticed a few symbols up here, don't worry. Those are chord symbols, which we'll learn about in another lesson soon. We'll also soon learn about this fine and the DCL fine. For now, you can ignore those. You're just practicing these first 2 lines. We'll explain all the rest in a lesson soon. Great job learning the A section of Dinah today. Thanks so much for watching and learning with me, and happy practicing. Cheep, 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 cheep.
Croak, croak.
Wah, wah.
Roar, roar.
Cheep, 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 cheep.
Croak, croak.
Wah, wah.
Roar.